So welcome back to another episode of the podcast featuring your host, Philip Wells. And again, THE is an acronym that stands for Therapy Helps Everyone. And that is ultimately the goal of this podcast, to make sure that everyone knows that therapy, but also mental health, truly does help everyone. And that's my goal for today. And actually today, I have a guest with me. This is a guy that I see on Instagram Live, and actually this is how we met. Social media is very, very powerful. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Jason Phillips. He's someone who is a husband, a mentor, a psychotherapist, a lecturer, and also a life coach who advocates relentlessly for prosperity and wellness to strengthen others, couples, families, and communities across the globe. He has over 10 years of experience in the mental health and coaching profession and is considered an expert in evidence-based treatment and strategic goal setting to foster success. Since 2009, he has helped individuals overcome barriers that pose challenges for them reaching their goals. Life is a blessing, and we want to take advantage of each possible moment. Allow him to strengthen your ability to achieve peace and prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Phillips.
Hey, thanks, Philip.
So how you doing, man?
Man, it's Tuesday. I'm here. I'm good.
Definitely. So, man, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. If there's anything that I left out, please definitely fill us in.
One, thank you for having me on the podcast. I do personally believe that therapy helps everybody. So I just want to kind of put that out there. I love the name. I love what you stand for, your vision, your mission. And more of us, especially Black men, need to dive into therapy. Who am I? I'm Jason Phillips, as you said. I'm originally from Detroit. I currently reside in close to Raleigh, North Carolina. And I'm a licensed therapist, life coach, and college professor. But more importantly, I'm here to, help advocate for mental health and awareness and be a pillar to break the stigma, because there's so much stigma around going to therapy and talking to a therapist. And I think that we are really, really holding ourselves back. So the more that we can have these type of conversations, the better our people can understand that therapy is for everybody.
Exactly. Those are good points that you brought up. And actually, that's what we're going to talk about today. We want to try to encourage Black men, right, to get into the therapy sessions, because a lot of times those are like the last people, right, to actually come through our doors. And we want to change the narrative around that. And what better way to do that than two Black male therapists, right? So I know on your page you mentioned that you're an expert in anxiety, self-esteem, and also trauma. So I wanted to know, how did you come across those, and, how did you come across that as being kind of like your niche?
Well, one, to be honest, trauma was something that I strayed away from in the beginning of my career, because I thought it was going to be too much. You hear the horror stories about clinicians getting burnt out and taking work home. And when I went to start working with veterans, I always wanted to meet the need of the clients that we serve. And my supervisor said, we really need somebody to work on trauma. So I stepped up. I became certified in prolonged exposure therapy, which kind of combines imaginal exposure and real life exposure. It's a clinical jargon for saying, hey, we help you talk through your trauma and also walk through it in real life. So that's kind of how I got started with trauma. And in the beginning of my career, I worked in grief and loss. So I started off as a social worker doing grief counseling for individuals who lost a loved one. So I didn't really know it, but I was already doing trauma work, and I thoroughly enjoyed it because people got better. When you have that rapport and you can build those connections with people and allow them to tell their story and know that, hey, I'm not judging you. Everything is staying here. That alone showed me that just having somebody to listen to you, help you process some things, actually talk about it, it does help. And when you combine that with formal training, evidence-based practice, and it was been a life-changing experience for me.
Wow. What's dope about that is that, when you speak about like being an expert in trauma, we all know that Black men, a lot of times, and this is not defeating to a stereotype, this is kind of true. Like, we're one of the first ones to be traumatized. And we see that with, obviously the social injustice that are going on throughout the country right now. But for a lot of us, if you go over 2, 3, 4 zip codes over, you find yourself in the hood, and a lot of times that's where that trauma happens, right? A lot of people, they develop things like adjustment disorders, right? So adjustment disorders is someone who has a hard time adjusting to stress and things that change. So as a result, it may take them, a week or hours to adjust to something that it may take the regular person, a few minutes to get over it. And I think that's an example of how, trauma can affect, all people, but especially the Black man. And then also you mentioned that you're from Detroit, and like I know, Detroit has like some rough parts, and I don't know if you're from one of those rough parts. So like, are you from one of those rougher areas in Detroit?
I'm from one of the rougher. I'm not from one of the roughest, but I'm from one of the rougher areas. For those who listen and who familiar with Detroit, I'm from like the 6 Mile, Livernois, 6 Mile, Wyoming area. I grew up in between, Puritan and 6 Mile, which, back in the day, those were rival gang areas. So I saw a lot, I heard a lot, but it was normal. So let's not underestimate, Philip, that the things that I witnessed and experienced, it was normalized for us all growing up in the neighborhood. I always talk about a lot of the kids that were on my block. A lot of us were in single parent homes. So when somebody had, like, you didn't feel like you were an outsider because you didn't have a 2-parent household, or because you had a family member in jail, or somebody else using drugs, or your cousin was selling drugs. Like, that was all, that was like a common thing for us. So we survived it, but we didn't know that a lot of stuff that we went through, and that was traumatizing,
Yeah. It's funny, like, even like the things that we see on TV, like the stigmas, like from, movie and like, don't get me wrong, like, there were some great movies, but we see movies like whether it's Boys in the Hood or Friday and things like that, where there's just certain things that, you see the Black man doing, and
right.
Some of that stuff for us has been, as you mentioned, normalized, right? And we grow up thinking like, hey, this is not only normal, but this is our limit too, right? So the idea that, Black men can be therapists, right, is something that is mind-boggling. I actually went and did a presentation at a middle school, and when they heard a therapist was coming, they had this idea of who he was going to be. And when I came, they're like, oh, yo, we thought you were going to be an old white man. And like, like I was taken aback when I heard that, but it's honestly the truth, right? So it's definitely important to break those stigmas, right? And also to try to, like I said, get more Black men into the therapy sessions. So
we have a good conversation, Black men and mental health. This is a conversation that needs to be had.
Exactly. So the first thing I'm gonna ask, man, is what do you do for mental health?
Oh, for myself?
Yeah.
I always go, I take it a step back. Like, for me, taking care of my mental health, I have to take care of my physical health. So I would say, like staying in the gym, working out, walking with my dog, eating right. So it's, for me, taking care of my mental health starts with taking care of my physical body. It means saying no to certain things. Like, for instance, I love doing, podcasts, and, I go live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. But it also means being able to say no to certain things too. And that's something that I've been doing more lately, because we only have so much time, right?
Exactly.
And we notice that over time, we can continue to say yes to so many people. And after a while, it just gets to be draining. So being able to have healthy boundaries.
Yeah. You can't pour from an empty cup, man. And that's so true. One thing that I tell myself, other clients, is that, man, sometimes, you got to be firm in your no's, just like you are in your yeses. And it's okay to be firm, but gentle with people as well. And sometimes, that's what we got to do with our mental health and our self-care. So very, very crucial, very crucial. So I want to know, what are some of your experiences with Black men in therapy? So, you're in therapy, or, you're having a speech or whatever it is, and you're talking about mental health. How is it, being in those sessions with Black men? Like, kind of take us inside so others from outside can kind of like see what it's all about. So what is that experience like?
I will say this from I usually get either one of the two extremes, like black men who are happy that they can sit down with another black man, or I get black men who feel like they're forced to come in because their spouse or their mom or their sibling, somebody's telling them, hey, you need to go talk to somebody. And what we find out though is when we actually get into the session and get to know each other, build that rapport, that therapy is not like, it's not bad, it's not scary. And I feel like black men particularly, you may see the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Once we start having these conversations and we start making progress on things, and they feel like, oh, Jason, you can relate to what I'm going through, or the things that I hear, things that I experience, it becomes, it is therapeutic, and we are doing professional work in there, but it's also just healthy in general, because now you have somebody who's unbiased, who can listen to you, not judge you, who looks like you, who's probably been through some similar experiences. So right then and there, that rapport from one black man to another black man, I think it kind of elevates the therapy experience a little bit more. So you get that extreme where people are like, oh man, you my therapist? Cool. And then, sometimes it's like, all right, so how long is this going to take?
Yeah. And it's funny, man. I was in a class one day, and, the teacher put up a chart, and it showed what works in therapy, and 40% of what works in therapy is the therapeutic relationship. And it is so powerful, man. It's so powerful, and it's so important, especially when you talked about the fact that you can relate to other black men, So, we talked about, you growing up in some of like the rough areas of Detroit, down here in Miami, there's some rough areas. I'm pretty sure up there in North Carolina, up in North Carolina, there's some rough areas and things like that. So when you come across those young men or those men, it kind of, helps take away some of the mystery, some of the guessing, because you get them, like you understand where they're coming from. So once you get over that hurdle, man, it makes it a little easier to kind of reach over across the room and let them know that, hey, I see you, man. Like, I've been there. And these are the things that I've done personally that are tried and true methods that would get you to another place in life. So, that's important, man. That's crucial, And go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like building that rapport, I think, it's half the battle. We can have all the clinical experience, and we can have all of the book knowledge, but if I can't relate to you and you can't relate to me, if it's just we're not meshing, then you're not going to be able to hear anything that I'm saying, and you're going to feel like this is a waste of time. So yeah, building a therapeutic alliance, that's a huge, huge part of getting help and actually feeling like you are being helped.
Good point. I think what helps when you meet the people who are there because they want to be there, and those that don't want to be there but they're forced, is that motivational interviewing, like trying to show them all the pros to why they should change and things like that. And that's something that you use when they're in depending on what stage of change they're in. So there's like 5 stages. A lot of people may start off in that first stage where they don't know that there's a problem, and they kind of just wander aimlessly through life thinking everything's okay. And you spoke about that very briefly earlier, like, growing up in this traumatic lifestyle, we're thinking it's okay, it's cool, I just seen buddy get shot or whatever, and that's normal, man, so, and it's not, so motivation interviewing is definitely something that we use to get people to the next stage in therapy. So good point. The next thing I want to ask is why do you think it's important now more than ever for Black men to go to therapy? Why is it important now more than ever for Black men to go to therapy?
Man, because we have to step it up, right? Black men, we have to step it up. Like, it's no slight to, there's no offense to the brothers, it's no offense to us, but we have to elevate our game. And by doing that, it takes not only just, getting the degrees and having the great jobs, but actually being a whole healed person. And what that takes is being able to sit down and unpack some stuff that you've been through or you may be worried about going through with somebody else who doesn't know you, who's not going to judge you, who you can be yourself with and let out some of those fears, the past trauma, help you get out of a funk. But for Black men, if we do that on a consistent basis, then we'll see us as a whole just start to kind of rise up to the next level.
Yeah, no, good point. And it's funny, like when you mention that, like us rises, one level, we get to like a better place. Imagine what that does for the kids, right, of that Black man, the brothers of that Black man, right? Like we're not only healing that one Black man, we're healing a whole generation, right? Exactly. And that's what we could potentially be doing. So for all the Black men that are listening, think about it. Like you're not just coming to therapy for you. You come to therapy for your brother. You come to therapy for your father, right? You come to therapy to improve the lifestyles of every Black man that you know, right? And that is so important. And you could probably relate to this. Like I've had 6-year-old Black males in my office. I had 27-year-old Black males. So people my age. But then I had guys my dad's age. 63-year-old Black males. And it's so amazing to see that wide spectrum of Black males. That is encouraging, but I know that we can do more. I know we can pick it up, So yeah. So like, what would you say to a Black man who's listening to this podcast right now? What would you say and I think you kind of alluded to this already, but if you had to speak specifically to them, what would you say to try to encourage them to, just give it a shot?
No matter your age, you could be 80 or you could be 8. So it doesn't matter, but go ahead and at least give it a try. We work so hard on our physique. We work so hard on our money. We work so hard on other aspects of our life. But if we actually take that time and energy to heal our emotions, to process what we've been through, we'll notice that our relationships will get better. Like we'll be able to hear people. We can communicate better. So if you think you're doing a great job in your career right now, imagine if you start to heal some of that baggage or address some of those underlying fears and issues that you have going on, you're really going to be able to take it to the next level, right? Mm-hmm. If you think you can focus now, you taking care of your body, your physical health, imagine what you're going to be able to do if you're working out to be a better person, not just to run away from things, because a lot of times we use certain things to escape. We use alcohol, we use drugs, we use sex, we use money, we use people, women, we use whatever we can to avoid actually addressing the real issue. And when you start to kind of get to what's really at the root of some of our issues, we'll find that life gets easier. You can take the bumps and bruises a lot better. And as you said, Philip, our offspring, they'll feel better. Like our circle, they'll say, oh man, Philip, you looking better. You walk different. You look lighter. What you been doing? Hey man, I've been talking to my therapist, getting some stuff off of me. You know what I mean? And the same way we recommend, we'll tell somebody, oh, I got this from this, this barber, I got this financial advisor, I got this from this. We need to start recommending therapists the same way. Hey man, go see so-and-so.
Bro, that is gold, man. That is gold.
Yeah.
A lot of times we will say, oh man, I gotta get off work. I gotta go get this dentist appointment, man. I got this feeling and I need to get that thing worked on, right? And think about how amazing it would be if someone were to say, man, I've been stressed out lately, man. So I had to book another session with my therapist. And like just saying that has so much power in it, right? Like you say that a guy may look at you a little funny, like, oh, like you got bro, like what's up? Like I thought that was for wealthy people, right? Or I thought that was for other races, right? Some people see this as a preventative measure, right? A luxury, right? Like a luxury service, like getting a massage, right? Getting your nails done, like it's not required. It's kind of like a luxury, but no, this is required. And what's funny, like as you were mentioning that, I was actually talking to a Black male at an event. It was like a Christmas event, and we were just sitting here talking, man. And I said, I forgot what I was talking about, but I was like, yeah, man, I went and saw my therapist, and he was like, man, you know what? I went and just booked a session with my therapist too. And like the smile on this man's face was so wide, man, because it's like for that moment we connected. And I gave him permission to give me that information and to break down that stigma. And I think that's the conversation that we need to have a little bit more. I think the more and more we have that conversation, the more we start to get more Black males into the sessions. And it's so crucial, man. It's so vital.
A lot more. And I can say, as a therapist who has seen a therapist who advocates for, us to see therapists, like the conversations are different. If I'm talking to my friends about my experience or they're sharing their experience, because now we're not looking at it as like a weakness or, oh, something's wrong with you. We're looking at, oh, I'm trying to get myself together. I don't want this to prevent me from doing this in the future. And now we're saying, I want to heal. I want to be whole. And I think there's strength in that. There's strength in us being able to support each other in that magnitude and not just say, oh, man, get over it. You'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. We need to talk about it. We need to talk about this.
Yeah. No, good points, man. And I think what you related to earlier as well, which was really great, is how we can see, like, okay, going to the gym, like I go to the gym to get stronger, right? I go to the gym to build my endurance, right? I go to a financial planner to, improve my finances, right? Make my finances, my portfolio a lot, bigger, stronger, all that good stuff. And it's this, like, we need to take that same type of mentality and honestly apply it to, again, our mentality, our mental health. And as you mentioned, you will see an increase in all aspects of your life, right? We were taught to look at, the relationships, the careers, the personal, social, emotional, like all that stuff. And we were taught how all that stuff is tied together physically, how all that stuff can be tied together. And if you don't start off taking care of your mental health, slowly but surely, every aspect of your life will start to dwindle. Think about it, like, like you could potentially lose out on the love of your life if you don't go to therapy. You can lose out on promotions, right? If you don't go to therapy, you can lose out on so many things if you don't give this a try. And that's what, honestly, like, a lot of people have to gain and at the same time lose if they don't give this a try. So if you and I kind of want you to kind of give some, like, guidance or advice or whatever you want to call it, because a lot of times I get a lot of, the women of Black men. This may be the sister, the mother, the girlfriend, the wife, right? So for all the loved ones and family members who has a Black male who could benefit from therapy, how should they try to encourage them to get into the therapy rooms and just give it a try? Like, so I know I asked you, like, personally, how could you do that? But how could someone who's listening, right, encourage that? Because we all know we have one who could benefit. How could they get that Black male into the therapy sessions?
Okay, it's a question. I hear it a lot. I know you hear it. What can you do? Mm-hmm. So this is what I would say. When you talking to somebody about going to therapy, make sure you talk to them the same way you would want them to talk to you. So, like, what that means is actually saying it aloud. Like, don't just think, okay, I know what I'm going to say to them. I got my game plan. Practice it, rehearse it. So that way, if it comes out and you're like, ooh, that kind of stings a little bit. Maybe let me watch my tone. Let me watch my language, my verbiage, what I'm saying, so that man can hear you. Secondly, so again, first, practice it before you say it. That way you hear it before it comes out, and that person can actually hear you. Secondly, if they are open to it, and if they start going, make sure you never, ever throw it back in their face and try to weaponize it and say, oh, you acting up today. I think you need to go schedule with your therapist. So we can't, like, trying to penalize somebody, or, you know what I mean? Because that's just reinforcing that there's a problem. So make sure ladies, when your man or your family member does go seek the help, support them throughout the whole process, not just when they schedule the appointment, not just when they start going and things get better, but the entire process, even when it's not working as fast as you think it should.
Yeah. That is so key. And I was thinking about that the other day. Don't weaponize the fact that someone has gone to a therapist. right? Don't try to throw it back in their face because, as you said, it further strengthens that stigma. And who knows, that person may now not even be able to trust you because, oh, now you're throwing things back in my face. Like,
It's
okay, like
all
now I
trust.
can't trust. Yeah, I can't trust you with this information anymore. We can never go back to being, on those same pages. So, no, you make a lot of good points. And again, like make sure that you're saying it the way that, someone would like to say it to you. Like you don't want to come off, rude or disrespectful or anything like that. So, no, those are great points. Great points. Um, Peace and prosperity, right? How did you come across that, man? I'm so curious.
Okay, so because really I was thinking about, when I wanted to start, my coaching practice and what that meant to me, I'm like, what resonates with me? And the peace and prosperity is a balance because I'm big on having inner peace. Sometimes we need to be able to relax and let things go, talk about things, process our emotions, and just kind of really have a serene type feeling. So that's where the peace is: resolving trauma, resolving anxiety. But then prosperity, we also need abundance of things. So I don't want us to say, because I came from this neighborhood or because I've been in these relationships, I can't have a beautiful, thriving, loving relationship. You need both. And that's where I want us to be prosperous. So on for the peace, yes, let's just chill, uh, let's work some things out. But for prosperity, I also want to teach people, how do you get what you want? How can you be successful in your business? How can you be successful in your relationships? How can you be successful as a person? And that's where the prosperity comes, because in order to be successful in that manner, we have to go out and get some things. We can't sit back and let everything just come to us. We have to work for it. So that's that big balance where the peace is the chill, relax, kind of mellow out, but the prosperity side is go out and get what you deserve.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I like that. Go out and get what you deserve. I think there's such an emphasis on like, being humble and things like that. And you can definitely be humble while getting what you deserve. But I think a lot of people they don't chase after those things that they want. They think there's a limit to their abilities. And that's where we come in. We try to, okay, peel back the layers and show them in the past how they've been able to get this far. So now it's like, okay, we can get even a little bit further if we implement those same tools and strategies and so on and so forth. So I know
Mm-hmm.
you're really big on about, the prosperity part, helping people get to that goal that they want, helping them to be successful. So like, in what ways do you kind of like, help them to like achieve goals? Like, is there like I don't know, like either like a technique or something that you have them try or do or something that they can do to accomplish those goals?
Various techniques. So I'm using different worksheets, different strategies. But the first thing is, and it looks different for everybody, but the first thing is just being very clear on what you need. Where do you need peace? Because sometimes before we can get the prosperity and attract the energy to us, we have to resolve some things. But we have to be clear on what we're trying to resolve, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like when I work with an individual, they may say, I want to work on A, B, C, D. Okay, well, what's most important to you? How do you figure that out? Because sometimes you have things where family is important, success in your career is important, resolving this past trauma is important, and that's all, three different huge competing priorities. We have to figure out, how do we get from A to B to C without skipping over anything? And that takes work. That takes me getting to know you, you feeling comfortable trusting me. And as we do that type of work, then the prosperity comes. But it is work. I'm not gonna lie and say that, in one session you like magically living your best life. No, I work with individuals for different periods of time where they improve their relationships, start loving themselves better, get better confidence, improve their public speaking, improve their career, graduate from college or getting promotions. All of these things that people achieve it takes time, and we have to strategize towards it, and we have to be very, very intentional about what are we going after.
Gotcha. So, in other words, you can't put the uh the cart before the horse. You gotta, put the
Yeah.
horse before the cart. You gotta take care of, what it is that's going on. So that peace part, right? Like if you don't have that, it's gonna make it even tougher for you to, definitely accomplish your goals and get to where it is that you want to go. And that's gonna be a place that we can get to. And also, I like what you said that, hey, like it's not gonna take one session, right? So like, like I have, some people who maybe come for like, a few sessions, right? Or maybe even one session, they just don't hear from them again.
Yeah.
And we have to let people know, like, hey, like chances are you've been living your whole life like this, right?
Right.
Like you've been living like this for 27, 28, 29 years. Like 1 hour session is not going to get you where you want to be. And I encourage everyone to be patient. There's this thing with, instant gratification, and I think that's what happens with like medicine and why things like, the other medical fields are kind of like, more, I guess, I'm not going to say attractive, but more used because, I can go to a dentist with a sore tooth and walk out that same day and then the tooth isn't hurting, right? I can do the same thing with the chiropractor, but it's not like that with therapy. And also, please take note, everyone listening, you have to put in the work. Like that 1 hour session for that week, or if you go twice a week, whatever it is, like understand, like it's a brief moment in time in compared to that whole week or that month. So you have to put things in place outside of therapy, right? You have to really work on those objectives to reach those goals. And you got to be very specific, as Jason said. You got to be very detailed in what it is that you want and how you're going to get what it is that you want, right? In order for that therapy session to be beneficial. So definitely, those are good points, man. Good points.
And it's not easy. Like, you asked me what do I do for my mental health, and I told you I take care of my physical health, right? So when I'm working out with my trainer, he said, hey, I need you to start recording what you're eating. I'm like, man, what? So he wanted me to step it up a notch, right? So now I can't just work out more in order to achieve the same results. I have to watch what I eat. I have to be intentional. I have to record it and look at it. Same thing when it comes to seeing a therapist. I can't just talk to you, Philip, and say, look, let me see you on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And think that just because I increase my work, my time with you, no. I have to follow through with the homework assignments, follow through on what I'm supposed to be doing. I can't just say I'm going to talk to you more and that's going to heal me. I have to do the work. Yeah. And you have to take it up a notch, right? Because now I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the onus is still on me. Therapy is a tool. It's a great ultimate tool, but it's only a tool to help us heal. What good is that tool if you don't use it?
Yeah, no, good point. I can only imagine like how uncomfortable it was for you to start now, okay, recording the meals that you're eating, right? And I say that because sometimes therapy isn't comfortable. And that should be a reason why you do it, right? It's not comfortable sometimes opening up and talking about some of the things that you're going through, right? But it's through that uncomfortableness, that we're going to be able to achieve that growth that we're looking for, right? And also, I like that what you mentioned about, hey, now I'm trying to reach a higher level, right? I'm already at this level, and it sounds like you were already in shape and you were doing good, but now I'm trying to reach that next level, right? I'm trying to hit that peak performance, and I think what happens sometimes is, people are doing okay, like they're managing, right? You have people that have, stress levels that are through the roof, but they're able to at least get through the day, right? Or they have depression and they've been working with that depression so long that they're able to get through it, and like now it's normal. But you can definitely get to another level in your life, and that goes to say that, hey, you don't have to be suicidal to go see a therapist. Like you don't have to be on the edge of life or death to see a therapist, right? Like you don't have to be seeing things. No, if you're just stressed, man, go see a therapist. Like if you got a toothache, you're gonna go see a dentist, right? So it is no different. And who knows, maybe in that one session, Jason can, throw out some stress release techniques, and who knows, maybe you will be fine after that one session. But trust me, man, it's gonna take some time. So,
Yeah.
um, with that being said, man, anything else you want to add, man? I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping it up. But anything
Uh,
else you want to add, man? Your biggest takeaways?
I would say one for anybody who's listening, especially when we talk about black men in therapy, support your man, support your brother, support your father, whomever is thinking about seeing a therapist and talking about their feelings. Give them that support because they need more than just the average type of support. They need that push and encouragement behind it because it's still taboo for a lot of us to seek out that type of care. Secondly, stick with it. Know that one session is not, most times it's not going to be enough. We use the whole fitness analogy. You can go to see a trainer. If you go see a trainer one time compared to working with the trainer consecutively for a year, who's going to be better? The one timer or the person who's been working consistently for a year? Those skills that you learn in that 1 year, how you learn to, retrain the way you think, retrain the way you react, retrain the way you behave, that's going to propel you throughout the rest of your life. Therapy is really an investment in yourself. It's an investment. So we invest in all other aspects of life. Why not take that investment on, our mind, our soul? It's priceless.
Man.
It really is.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, good points, man. Good points. You're always on point, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Philip. Really.
Definitely, definitely. And now that you mentioned, I do want to throw this out. So, uh, I know like a lot of people may think, oh, therapy is expensive, right? And in some cases, that may be true. It may be expensive. Um, I'm gonna say this first before I get into some resources. Just like Warren Buffett said, price is what you pay, value is what you get. If I can help save your marriage, if I can help you get that job promotion, if I can help you to just be at peace with yourself, I don't really think there's a price tag that goes with it. And who knows, that may be debatable, but price is what you pay and value is what you get. So the value that you're getting out of therapy, especially if you found the right therapist, it's going to be monumental because again, you're healing not just yourself, but you're healing those around you in the generations to come, right? Secondly, there are so many resources out there in the community. I'll say this: here in South Florida, we have things like Chrysalis, we have Henderson. These are mental health agencies. We also have the local university. So wherever you're at, whether you're in California, New York, or even in North Carolina, reach out to that local university because they may have master students or PhD students who will actually give you therapy on a reduced level. Right. So check them out. Also, contact your insurance agencies. A lot of times they have free therapy sessions. It may be two, it may be one, but take advantage of it. Just like you have those 2 free cleanings every year with your dentist, chances are you have the same thing, right? You have the same thing with your therapist. So check those out as well. Also, due to COVID, I know at my office, a lot of insurance agencies are waiving the copay. So check with your agency, call them, ask them, tell them, hey, like, if you've been affected, or you say, hey, I've been affected by COVID, hey, they may waive your copays for an extended period. So check those things out. And yeah, I think that's about it. I do want to ask if you have a book recommendation. I have one, but I'm gonna kind of give you the floor first. If you have like a book recommendation, or even maybe like if you don't have a book recommendation, maybe like a podcast or a place where people can just find resources.
So I'll do both then. I'll do the podcast, outside of yours. I'll say Therapy for Black Girls. That's an awesome podcast. Then
It's a website too. It's a website too, everybody. Yeah.
And I would say for the book, I'm gonna go ahead and go with The 4 Agreements. Is that your book?
I got another one, but go ahead.
Yeah, The 4 Agreements. That's an awesome, life-changing book. Because it helps. We take stuff personal, and we don't watch what we say. We don't always perform to our best of our ability. I mean, that book is really, it's short, but it's packed with so many gems.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I've probably recommended that book so many times. I think the guy needs to give me like a fee, man,
I know,
like a
right?
percentage. Yeah, that's that. Like you said, that's a great book. We take so many things sometimes personal, and that book can relieve a lot of like anxiety, man. It's really a freeing and liberating book. So I encourage everyone to go check that out. Um,
Definitely.
the book that I will recommend for myself outside of the Four Agreements is a book called Peak Performance. I just finished that book, and it's a great book for people who are athletes or people who are in high performing jobs or people that just want to, improve just the efficiency of their life. This book gives you, I want to say, about 8 tips on how to improve your day to day performance. They talk a lot about how important rest is, right? So, LeBron James, he's famous for taking or investing a lot of money into his body. I think over $1 million into his body, and as a result, he's playing at this high level for 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
Rest is very, very important, right? Another thing that they talked about is finding your purpose. When you find your purpose, and I'm pretty sure this is Jason's purpose, which is why he's doing it at such a high level. Like when you find your purpose, man, like that would transcend any fear, any anxiety, or any tiredness that you may have, right? When you find your purpose, it can be such a motivational factor. It is amazing. So, what is your purpose? I encourage everybody to find that out. And there's just a whole lot of tips in there. So, again, a great book for not only athletes, but also people who are non athletes or people that just want to improve their performance in their lives. So,
Yeah, checking that
um,
out.
yeah. So, Jason, tell everybody, where they can find you, Instagram, podcast, website, email if you want to, all that good stuff.
Okay, yep. So for social media, Facebook and Instagram is J Phillips MSW. JPhillipsMSW. And then for my website and email, my website is pnpcoach.com. pnpcoach.com.
Thank you, thank you. And again, he's located right outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. So if you're in that area, that North Carolina area, definitely give him a shout out. I don't know if do you provide your coaching outside of that area?
Yes, coaching is international. I got a couple people who not even in US, so I enjoy that too. Really do.
Definitely. Okay, so hey, everyone, thank you. I appreciate it. Again, this is the podcast. You can find my Instagram, the Players Coach LLC, my website, theplayerscoach.net, the podcast, parentheses, therapy helps everyone. You can find that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more of your major podcast services. So check that out. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if there's any topics that you guys want to check out next week, definitely let me know. All right. Thanks, everybody. You know, man.